Hello, this is Paul Higgins, and this is Paul Higgins Photography. Welcome to my next little video blog with something interesting about Micro Four Thirds cameras. Where are they today? Where is my Micro Four Thirds camera? Well, it's disappeared, so which is not a good start. Never mind, here it is. Here it is. So today I'm going to be talking about these, which are, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, there you go. It's the Lomography Experimental Lens Kit. And so this is a great little purchase that I made probably a couple of months ago now. And I've been wanting to do a video because there aren't really a whole lot of videos on this kit. So, if you don't know about Lomography, Lomography is kind of like an alternative community of photographers using what I'd call toy cameras and using plastic lenses and more expressionist rather than actual in what the composition of photography and the pictures look like. Anyway, so Lomography does this little guy here, which is an experimental lens kit for Micro Four Thirds cameras. Basically, what happens is you get these three lenses. You get this one, you get this one, and you get this one. And the cost is about $45 on the lomography.com website. At least when I purchased them. But if you look elsewhere, they're usually about $90. So there is a little bit of a difference in price. So what do you get for your $44, $45, or $90? Okay, so you get three lenses. You get this lens, which if I go closer in, you can see, this is a standard lens, 24mm. You get a wide-angle lens, which is this guy, and this is a 12mm lens. Remember, on Micro Four Thirds, the effective focal length is twice. So the 24 is a 48mm equivalent on standard format. SLR, the 12 is a 24, and the one that I'm really liking is this guy. Now, so this guy is a, well, they call it a 160-degree fisheye lens. They don't say what the focal length of this lens is, which is a little weird, but yeah, it's cool. And so what I'll do is I'll post a few pictures a little bit later. So what happens with these lenses is they're quite complex in nature. So if I show you this fairly close up, if I can get focused on here. So what you have on these is you have three levers on them. So the first one is labeled T. I don't know if you can see that, but anyway, it's labeled T, and what that does is this allows you to switch between. Well, let's explain what they do. So these lenses, they do two things. You can either put them on your camera and use the shutter in your camera, but the lenses also have a shutter built into them. So the second thing you can do is you put them in your camera, open up the shutter on your camera, and use the internal shutter on the lens, and you'll be able to hear here, and you can take pictures. So so basically there are three settings. So the first one is to switch between using the shutter in the camera and the shutter in the lens. The second one is the shutter release, and the third one allows you to toggle between brief and normal when you're taking pictures using the shutter that's in the lens. So if I do this, you can hear that it's opening and closing. But if I do this, it opens and then closes on when I let go. So pretty traditional. So yeah, they are focusing. You can focus on them, and that's it. So before we start going any further, I nearly thought I was going to have to send these guys back, because when you move it between the shutter in the camera and the shutter on in the lens. But they come by default with the shutter in the lens as the default. So there's a little dot. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little dot. But if I move it over here, you'll see that there's a T. Maybe you can see the T, maybe not. And what I was trying to do with this was I was just moving it to here, and I thought that was moving it all the way to the T, which is the using the shutter in the camera. But if you'll notice, if you look really closely in there, I don't know if you can see very easily, but you can see that there's a piece of plastic right in the middle of the lens, right in the middle of the gap. So when I move it to the position where I'm using the shutter in the camera, in the lens, you can see that maybe if I take this off, you'll be able to see it easier. Maybe not. But when you want to move to the T position, if you just move it to there, you can see it's not moved all the way across. You have to actually move it until there's a click. Don't know if you can hear that. But there is a click position, and the click position is the one that moves it so you can actually use the shutter in your camera. Okay? So, you know, the build quality is not great, to be honest. I mean, but they are plastic, and there are 3 of them for $40. So, I mean, you can't really expect too much. So, I'm just going to put this onto the camera. So they fit on nicely. They look a little bit weird. This is an OMD EM5, which I got second hand. It's an EM5 Mark 1. So taking pictures with them, they're okay. You have to use manual focusing. So some of the Olympus cameras have focus peaking, and I think I've talked about this on the video that I did with the toy lens, the little toy lens thing, which is hiding. This little guy in here. I think I talked about when I was going through some talk about this, about focus peaking and the things that you can set up so that you can actually see when your focusing is correct. So this is the fisheye lens. You know, it fits on the camera nice. They're all color coded, so you can tell which one's which. The other thing that's kind of nice is the back cover actually does have I don't know if you can see that, but the back lens does actually have a cover that has which lens it is, so it's easy to grab hold of the correct one. So at the moment I've got this on this T setting, which you can hopefully maybe just about see there. So in the T setting, the shutter release on the lens is locked, and so is this. You can move between the B and the N and the B settings, but the shutter release is locked, and then you can take pictures with your camera just using the shutter release in your camera. There's no aperture settings, so the only things you can really do is change the shutter speed and also adjust the ISO. That's really the ways of manipulating these. But they were pretty good. They're pretty good. Quality's okay. So then the other thing, so like I said, so they have this T setting which allows you to use the shutter in. It just holds the shutter in the lens open all the time. But you can move to this other setting, which goes clunk like that, and then you can use the shutter release here that's in the lens, which is pretty interesting. So a little piece of advice: so you can fire the shutter on the lens as many times as you want, while you're still exposing while you've got the shutter open on the body, because clearly you have to have the shutter open on the body, and you then use the shutter in the lens to actually take the pictures. So, piece of advice, I found it really cool. What you can actually do is, if you go to manual on your Olympus camera, and then clearly you have to switch the camera on. It's always handy. So what I've been using is I don't know if you can see here down at the bottom, I've been using LiveTime, which is one of the 3 settings you can use on the camera to do long exposures. There's live bulb, LiveTime, and then some of them have another one which has escaped me for a minute. So using LiveTime, what you can do is you can open the shutter, take several pictures, and the thing about LiveTime and live bulb is you can actually see the picture appearing if you're doing a lengthy exposure. But with these cameras where you've got the ability to be able to fire the shutter multiple times, what you can do is you can set it on LiveTime, push the shutter release once in the camera, that opens the shutter. Then you can take multiple exposures and you can kind of do arty things with them, and you can see what's happening on the back screen. So, for instance, let me just demonstrate this. So, I've taken the lens cap off. Clearly, that's a good idea. I press the LiveTime button, and it'll start, doing its thing. It does like a weird countdown thing. But so what you do is you set the LiveTime thing going by just pushing the button down once to open the shutter, and then you can quite happily go and use the shutter release on the lens to take pictures. So I'll take a picture here, and what you can do is if you touch the screen, it will refresh. So I've taken a picture of that. Let me take one at a funny angle, so then you'll be able to see. So now if I touch this again, you'll see the other picture appears, and I can maybe take one of my my light up here, and as soon as you touch it, you see things, the screen will refresh. So you can take as many pictures as you want. I can take hundreds of these things, and then you just touch and they actually refresh on the screen. So it's actually quite a good way of being able to do composition without being able to see what you're doing effectively. So hopefully that makes some sense. There's a little bit in the middle where I have to cut a little bit out where I was doing it wrong. So just in summary, these are good little lenses. They're fun to use. There's 3 different ones. There's a standard, a wide angle, and a fisheye. I quite enjoyed using the fisheye. I went on a cruise and took lots of fisheye pictures. That was kind of fun. They have 3 things on them. They have a shutter release, they have a brief versus normal, so you can figure out whether the shutter opens and closes, or whether the shutter opens on the down and releases on the up. And then there's a T, which is for the T setting. Is if you're in the T setting, it means that the shutter on the lens is held open and you just use the shutter in your camera. If you switch it to the dot setting, not the T setting, you can then use the shutter in the camera. I use LiveTime setting. Go to manual, set the shutter speed to LiveTime, and then you can take multiple pictures using the shutter release on the lens, and you can hit the touch sensitive screen and it will refresh and show you the pictures as you're taking them. So hopefully this was helpful. My name's Paul Higgins. This is Paul Higgins Photography. If you've got any comments or anything, stick them down below, and hopefully this made sense. Thanks very much.